literally within 1 to 2 minutes of the telephone call ending. So you don't have to wait a day, a half a day, a couple of hours in order to get your illustrations. Any marketing material, any brochures that you need, these folks can send those to you. But keep in mind, they are all fully licensed. And because they're fully licensed, they can answer any product question that you have. If you need help with case design, these folks can help you. Maybe you have a client and you've selected the wrong product, they will tell you and they will coach you. But in addition to that, if you need to get to other places within Nationwide, all you have to do is call that telephone number and they can transfer you literally to any place within Nationwide that you need to get to. So, a couple of examples that I always use. You need to speak with an underwriter. And at Nationwide, you're always able to speak to any one of our underwriters. You can call that telephone number and just ask the representative to transfer you to the underwriting department, where you will speak with a real underwriter. And you can ask the underwriter any type of underwriting question that you have. If you have a question about your commission, you can call this telephone number. They will help you with your commission questions. So literally, any place within Nationwide that you need to get to, you just have one telephone number, and that's here. One other thing that I want to point out to you before we get into the product training is Nationwide is a platinum provider on your platform. And because we are a platinum provider on your platform, we are able to provide higher levels of training to you and for you. And so on the screen are webinars that have been designed just for WFG. Now, the first quarter is ending in just a few days, so this is the first quarter. But go to mywfg.com, click on the Nationwide icon that's there, and this will populate for you. In just a couple of days, probably tomorrow, if not tomorrow, certainly on Thursday, we will have the second quarter webinars for you. So I'm going to scroll through this pretty quickly. I just want you to see some of the topics that we have. So we have a long-term care solution called Care Matters. We do a webinar for you on that product. But what I want to point out to you is that these webinars are live. The only people that are on these webinars are other WFG agents from across the country. And number two, each one of the webinars are done on different dates. So maybe you couldn't attend the Care Matters webinar on the 3rd of March, but is today the 26th?
Yes.
Maybe you could attend today. Again, these are not recorded, these are live webinars. We have 2 national trainers that are fully dedicated to WFG. Those are the people that are doing these webinars. So we have other webinars on Index Universal Life 301, we have a 201, we have a 401 class. VUL for those of you that are securities licensed. But let me also scroll this way. Some of you may be working in the business marketplace, and you may have questions about key person insurance, defined compensation. We have webinars on executive bonus plans, buy-sell agreements, life insurance professionals as estate planners, etc. So once again, all of these have multiple dates on them. Now, some of the webinars are recorded. Not all of them are. We provide what we consider to be proprietary information on some of these webinars, and so for that reason, we do not record every webinar that we have. But the webinars that we do have recorded, you can always go to these webinars and learn on demand. So maybe at midnight, you have nothing better to do except learn about Nationwide. Go to one of the recorded webinars, and you can listen to that recorded webinar in its entirety. So once again, mywfg.com, click on the Nationwide icon, and the current webinar schedule is there. You do not have to register. They are free. Just show up. Sometimes you can be in front of your computer, but sometimes you may be driving and you're in traffic, and the only thing that you can do is listen. Go ahead and just dial in and listen. We will send you the material that we cover if you just let us know, I was on that webinar, I couldn't see the material, can you send me the PowerPoint deck that you used? We're happy to send that information out to you. Okay. So now, let's get started with training. So, in December, Nationwide introduced 2 new IUL products. And give me just a moment to pull this up. Yeah, we all have a dream, don't we? We all have a dream.
I'm Sean Conner all the time.
Okay, so in December, Nationwide introduced 2 new IUL products. So on your platform, we already had 3 IUL products. We have replaced our second or our first generation IUL products with our second generation IUL products. So tonight, I'm going to talk about the new Accumulator 2 and the new Protector 2 products. So there are those of you in the room that are not licensed. There are those of you in the room that may be licensed, but you're pretty new. So if you're taking notes, feel free to jot notes down. Some of this information is probably going to be a little bit over your head. I'm going to try to stay out of the weeds with it. So we've got 2 products. We've got the Accumulator and the Protector. Now, what's the difference between those 2 products? Well, as the name of Accumulator would suggest, that product is designed for 2 things. It is designed to give your clients maximum income potential and maximum accumulation potential. That's what the Accumulator is designed to do. The Protector, on the other hand, is not really an accumulation-oriented IUL product. It is what's called a protection-oriented IUL product. What's the difference? Well, I just told you how to use the Accumulator. How do you use the Protector? The Protector is designed for your clients that are less interested in accumulation and are more interested in having the highest insurance amount for the lowest premium. Highest insurance for the lowest premium. Now, at WFG, and by the way, I've been working with WFG for 13 years. I had absolutely no idea it stood for women, females, and girls. that was news to me. And all this time I've been calling it World Financial. Stupid me. So, right?
We haven't.
So,
Rebranding tonight.
at WFG, I know how you're taught about permanent life insurance relative to this. People buy permanent life insurance for cash accumulation. Okay. I'll say this again. I've said it before. I say it multiple times every day. Cash accumulation is one reason an individual purchases permanent life insurance. It's not the only reason. There are a multitude of reasons why people out there purchase permanent life insurance every single day that have absolutely nothing to do with accumulating cash. They want permanent life insurance. They don't want term. They want permanent life insurance. Maybe they want that permanent life insurance to do what we call a wealth transfer. That is, they have children, grandchildren, or perhaps even a nonprofit, a church, a charity that they would like to leave money to. So what's the most efficient way to accomplish that goal? Purchasing life insurance and leaving the death benefit for the beneficiary. That's what's called wealth transfer. That sales idea has nothing to do with cash value. So again, my point to you is that there is a huge market out there for individuals that want and need permanent life insurance that have nothing to do with cash accumulation.
Right.
So when you think about how to use the two products, accumulator and the protector, think of it this way. It has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with the primary objective of the client. Does the client want to accumulate money? Does the client have a desire to distribute that money in the form of tax-free income at some point down the road? If the answer to those two questions is yes, the accumulator is the correct product.
Right.
Conversely, if the client has a secondary or tertiary interest in accumulation, but they say to you, I don't want term insurance, I want permanent life insurance, that person should receive the protector.
Right.
Okay? Now, the last thing that I'll mention, and then I'll get into the specifics, is this. When you are doing a product comparison with other products on your platform, it's important that you follow me here. Most of you in the room are probably using FFIUL as your primary IUL product, which is fine. I don't think you suck. It's okay. So if you are doing a comparison between FFIUL and a nationwide product, you want to do that comparison with FFIUL and the accumulator. You do not want to compare FFIUL with the protector. The only thing those two products have in common is that they're both IUL products. But the cost structure inside of the protector is completely different from the cost structure inside of the accumulator. The accumulator is more akin to FFIUL. How do you sell FFIUL? You sell FFIUL primarily to individuals that want to accumulate money and ultimately want to distribute that money in the form of tax-free income.
Yes.
That's the accumulator. So don't compare, don't try to do an apple-to-apple comparison with the FFIUL product and the protector. It's going to lead you down a rabbit path, okay? All right, so let's get started. Accumulator 2, protector 2. So how many of you in the room are familiar with accumulator 1 and protector 1? Okay, excellent. So you are going to notice significant differences in the new products. Difference number 1. In accumulator 1, we had 6 index strategies. In protector 1, we had 2 index strategies, right?
Yes.
In protector 2 and accumulator 2, the index strategies in both are identical. Yeah, they are identical. So if you understand the index strategies in one, you'll understand the index strategies in the other because they're both the same. They're both the same. Okay. Difference number 2. Difference number 2. With the accumulator, you were able to dial in term insurance, right? So if you wanted to lower that premium for the client, you could do so by dialing in term insurance. With accumulator 2, you do not have that capability any longer. We took away the term blend. We took it away for one reason. As attractive as we thought it was, the take rate for that, meaning the percentage of applications we got in that actually used it, was less than 3%. Was less than 3%. So we thought it was an attractive feature, you guys and the rest of the financial services industry that sell our product didn't necessarily think it was attractive. So we removed it and we replaced it with several other features that are just as cost effective. But again, if you're used to blending term, you are not able to blend term on the new accumulator.
Okay.
And by the way, you were never able to use the term blend on the protector. That was only available on the accumulator.
Yes.
Okay, so here's how the new product, Accumulator 2 and Protector 2, is designed. We have 3 different types of strategies for you and your client to choose from in the same product. So instead of building multiple products to do what we want it to do, we decided that's too cost prohibitive. We can have 3 different types of strategies inside of one product, and you and your clients choose what's most important to them. So let's walk through this. We have, can everyone see this, by the way?
Yes.
We have the core strategies, what we call core. We have high cap strategies, and we have high multiplier strategies. So let's walk through this kind of slowly so that I can capture everyone. All right, so what are the core strategies? If you understand Accumulator 1, then you understand core strategies. These are the index strategies within the core strategy. We have the multi-index, we have the 1-year S&P, and we have the 1-year uncapped S&P. All right, so let me start with the 1-year multi-index. So, as the name implies, this particular index tracks to multiple indices at the same time. It tracks to the NASDAQ, it tracks to the Dow, and it tracks to the S&P. And it does so using these percentages, 50, 30, and 20. All right? No change from Accumulator 1. So here's how it works. Everyone in the room knows that in any given year, the S&P might outperform the Dow. The Dow might outperform NASDAQ. NASDAQ might outperform S&P, right? Okay, here's the point. We don't care which one of those indices outperform the other 2. Whichever index outperforms the other 2, Nationwide will give your client 50% credit, exactly, of that index. We'll give your clients 30% credit of the second performing index. We'll give your clients 20% credit of the third performing index. We'll add those 3 percentages together and we'll give your client the sum total of that. Everyone follow?
Yes.
Okay. That is the 1-year multi-index. If you're familiar with the accumulator, if you're familiar with the protector, you're familiar with this. Because this index strategy was in both of them.
Yep.
Okay? The second one is the 1-year S&P. Everyone in the room is probably familiar with the S&P index. Every IUL product in the industry, literally, has the S&P index. So there's nothing novel about our S&P index. And then the last one is the 1-year S&P, but this one is uncapped. It's uncapped. Once again, if you're familiar with the Accumulator 1, then you're familiar with the uncapped S&P, because that was a strategy, an index strategy inside of our original accumulator product. So here's how the 1-year uncapped S&P works. As you notice here, we have a 5% spread. We charge a 5% spread on this index. The cap rate on the multi-index is 11.2, 11.25. The S&P is 9.25. But there isn't a cap rate on the S&P uncapped index. Because we charge a spread, a 5% spread, And please understand, we charge this 5% spread on the uncapped index only. We don't charge a spread on either of the other two index strategies. Here's how the spread works. Nationwide keeps the first 5% of the S&P return. Your client receives everything else. Okay? So if the S&P returns 20% in a hypothetical year, Nationwide keeps 5, your client is credited with what?
15.
It's that simple. It doesn't get any more complex than that. That's what the 5% spread is. Once again, the 5% spread is charged on the uncapped index only. Okay, so those are the strategies within the core, or those are the index strategies inside of the core column. All right, now let's move on to the right, the middle column, high cap. High cap. So we've heard a lot of agents, especially in WFG. Surprisingly, we didn't hear this too much outside of WFG, but inside of WFG, we constantly heard, you know, Nationwide, we like you guys, but your cap rates are too low. Right? Okay, so what were you comparing that to? Usually FFIUL. Really? I'm stating a fact.
Yeah.
And I'm not throwing FFIUL under a bus. It's a fact. The global cap was 15. The S&P, 13.75. Those are good cap rates. Those are exceptional cap rates. The problem, however, is that as good as those cap rates are, your client paid for them.
Yeah.
Your client paid for them. How did they pay for them? With that 72 basis point segment fee that was charged on each and every premium. So, 72 basis points, exactly right. So,
Point
and 0.72, yes. So, Transamerica charged a premium, that segment fee, in order to offer your clients a higher cap rate. Which is why we were never able to compete with FFIUL on cap rate, because we did not charge a segment fee. So our cap rates had to fluctuate with the general interest rates in the economy. The global in FFIUL and the S&P in FFIUL did not have to fluctuate. Why? Because the client was paying for it. So they have been able to maintain those cap rates on the global and the S&P when other companies had to lower their cap rates. Right? Everyone follow me?
Yes.
Once again, I'm just giving you fact. I'm not throwing FFIUL under a bus. Why do I mention that? Because we now have, within Accumulator 2 and Protector 2, a high cap option. Okay, so the high cap option, number 1, is the 1-year high cap multi-index. This multi-index works exactly the same as this one. S&P, Dow, NASDAQ, 50, 30, 20. But take a look at this cap rate, 25%.
Same basis points?
25%. Now, we also have a second cap rate, high cap option. S&P gives you a 13% cap rate. Now, it isn't free. It's not free. How are we able to offer such high caps? The same way every other company offers high caps. We charge a 1% segment fee. 1% segment fee. And that 1% is on every premium. So we are able to offer your clients a 25% cap rate if they are willing to pay for it. So you, along with your client, have to do some cost comparisons. For some of your clients, paying that 1% segment fee will not be worth it. For other clients, it absolutely will be worth it. But here's the reality. In the new product, you have a choice. With our competitors, including FFIUL, they have no choice. They have to pay that 72 basis point segment fee. How do they get out of paying the 1%? Just allocate to the core. We charge them nothing. We charge them nothing. So they can allocate to the core strategies. These are attractive cap rates for an FFIUL product. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so we've talked about the core strategy. We've talked about the high cap strategy. Let's talk about the high multiplier strategy. High multiplier. So, once again, I'm going to mention a company, just giving you fact, not throwing this company under a bus. Pac Life. Pac Life has... Did I say something funny? Okay, so Pac Life has...
We were just learning back life.
Okay, and so you learned about their PDX product, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that product, when it came out a couple of years ago, broke all of the rules. It really did, it broke all of the rules. And I don't mean in a criminal way. I don't mean that. What I mean is that the way they built that product really went against the grain in the IUL industry. One thing that I will say about the Pac Life product is this. It isn't very transparent. Meaning, if you want to extrapolate what the fees are within that product, good luck. Good luck. Right? But one thing that Pac Life does that we mimicked in our new product is they have high multipliers. They provide what are called persistency bonuses, which is why their illustrations look so great, which is why no other company can really compete with their illustrations, because they show persistency bonuses. The problem with those persistency bonuses, however, is that they are not guaranteed. They're not guaranteed. So you're showing your client an illustration today based on persistency bonuses that are not guaranteed. So there is absolutely no one in this room that can guarantee that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, hell, 5 years from now, those persistency bonuses will still be in place. You can't guarantee that. Why is that important? Because our multiplier bonuses are fully guaranteed. Fully. So let's talk about how the high multiplier strategy works. We actually have two bonuses, two multiplier bonuses. Now, again, for those of you that are familiar with the accumulator and the protector one, you know about our multiplier bonus, which was a guaranteed 15% bonus on top of the index return. So if your clients selected one of the two index strategies which offered the multiplier, they were guaranteed to receive an additional 15% on top of the index return. And because they selected the bonus, they actually had the opportunity, not a guarantee, but the opportunity to receive a credit rate that was actually higher than the cap rate. Unheard of. And fully guaranteed. So, that 15% persistency bonus that we paid in Accumulator 1 and Protector 1 did not go away. We still have them. We still have that bonus. But there is one difference, one change that we made. In Accumulator 1 and Protector 1, that 15% bonus started in year 1.
Wow.
It started in year 1, the first year of the contract. In the new product, in Accumulator 2 and Protector 2, it starts in year 6. It starts in year 6. However, don't tune out, because I told you we have two multiplier bonuses in the new product. We, in addition to the 15% bonus, we have a 65% multiplier bonus that is also, 65, yes. That is also guaranteed, and that one begins in year one.
Wait, how does that work?
65%?
65%. It works the same way that the 15% multiplier bonus works. So, you take whatever the strategy earned.
Yeah.
You multiply that by 0.65,
Okay.
beginning in year one. And that is what is credited to your client's account.
Ooh.
So from year one through year 5, your client receives the 65% bonus.
That's big.
Beginning in year 6, your client receives the 65% bonus plus the 15% guaranteed bonus.
Oh, right, that's right, yes.
Because remember, the 15% bonus wasn't taken away,
It's just.
we
year
just
6.
delayed it to year 6.
Percent.
Both of them are guaranteed. Now, there is no free lunch. Your client pays for it. 2.25. Now, if you think that's high, depending on your perspective, you may be right. However, I challenge you to go to an illustration from our competitor and try to figure out what your client is paying for that bonus. You won't be able to. And I can also guarantee you that it is significantly higher than 2.25%.
That's for sure.
So my point to you is that we're fully transparent with our fees here. If your client doesn't like this fee, they don't have to pay it. We have a lower segment fee of 1%, and then we have a 0% segment fee. The problem with our competitor is they're charging a higher percentage here. However, if the market turns against them, they don't have the client, that is, doesn't have the ability to leave this. So the market turns against your client, and they still have to pay a significantly higher fee than this. In our product, if your client has initially selected the high multiplier and has agreed to pay this fee, and the market turns against them, they can move into either the high cap option or they can move into the core option. We're not trying to screw your client. We're simply trying to give them alternatives, options.
How often?
One time per year. One time per year. So the question was, how often can a client move from high multiplier to high cap to core? One time per year they can move. So your client is not stuck. They're not stuck. Okay, so you have multiple options here. More options than we gave you in Accumulator 1 and Protector 1. How do you decipher? When is high cap a good option for your client? When is high multiplier a good option for your client? When is core a good option for your client?
Look at how cheap they are.
Well, that's one. That's one. Absolutely. So cost always has to be considered, which is why we fully disclose this to your client. Understand, this 1% and this 2.25% will absolutely be a drag on the illustration. It absolutely will. However,
And if they're overpaying.
when does core make sense? If you're taking notes, you probably want to jot this down. Core makes sense when you are competing against an illustration where the assumed rate, the illustrated rate, is what we consider a lower rate. What is a lower rate? 4 to 5%. 4 to 5%.
Whole life.
Whole life.
Well, whole life would be one, but there are IUL companies which illustrate at a lower rate. AIG is one company that comes to mind. That they illustrate at a lower rate. And in all candor, at Nationwide, we believe a best practice is to illustrate at a lower rate. And I'll tell you why. At a lower interest rate, you are able to determine if that policy will actually perform if and when interest rates turn down for an extended period of time. If you're constantly illustrating at 7.75%, you have absolutely no idea how that policy will perform if interest rates are at 3, 4, 5%. You have no idea. Because a high interest rate hides all kinds of sins. And the sins inside of an IUL contract are the fees and expenses. So if you're constantly illustrating at a high rate, you have absolutely no idea if that policy will actually perform in a low interest rate environment. And understand, we have been in a low interest rate environment for some time, and we will continue to be in a low interest rate environment for the foreseeable future. So illustrating at the max illustrated rate, I think tells a false story, a false narrative to your clients. Because who capped out last year? No one. No one capped out last year. And chances are, no one is going to cap out this year either. But yet, you're showing illustrations at 7.75%. That doesn't make much sense. So that's the primary reason we believe a best practice is to illustrate at a lower interest rate. If the interest rates climb, and if your client's interest rate experience is greater than you're illustrating, you're a hero. But how do you go back to your client 3 years from now at the annual review, and you've shown a high interest rate, but yet the return has been down here? That's a tough conversation. Okay? So, core. When you are looking at an illustration or competing against an illustration where the interest rate is lower. Okay, when do you want to use high cap? Obviously, you want to use high cap when you're looking at I will just say a higher than normal assumed rate of return. What is higher than normal? Well, for IUL purposes, anything over 7 is abnormally high.
Yeah.
Really, it is. Now, if this conversation were about VUL, that would not be my narrative. That would absolutely not be my narrative. But we're not talking VUL, we're talking IUL. Anything over 7 in an IUL environment is a high interest rate. Remember, these are fixed interest products. They're fixed interest products. Your client is never invested in the S&P. Your client is never invested in the Dow. Your client's money is sitting in the general account of the insurance company. It's not invested. So anything over 7 is high. So again, high cap option, you want to use that. This illustrates really, really well when you are competing against another illustration or another company that's showing a high interest rate. And then high multiplier. High multiplier. When do you want to show high multiplier?
Lump sum.
Well, lump sum is 1. Lump sum is absolutely 1. So a 1035 situation, certainly, high multiplier. But in addition to a lump sum, you want to show the high multiplier strategy when you are working with an illustration that has a moderate interest rate. Moderate, 5.5% to 6.5%. 5.5 to 6.5%. Now, if I have time in just a moment, I'll show you an illustration using the high multiplier strategy. And even with this 2.25% segment fee, that illustration looks really impressive, in addition to the income. So, is this fee high? No way for me to spin it. When you're comparing it to a zero charge, yes, 2.25% is high. But in the aggregate, over 25 years, 30 years, with moderate performance, 5.5 to 6.5%, that interest rate overcomes this charge and performs just fine. Does that make sense? Okay, let me stop there. Let me take your questions on anything that we've covered so far, or anything we haven't covered. Questions?
For when the switching, once a year, is that a calendar year, or is it from when they switch last?
Segment period.
12 months.
12 months, exactly right. So there could be a segment that starts on March 20, is it the 25th?
26.
March 26th of 2018. That segment period ends March 26th of 2020. Yeah, 2020. Anytime within that period, the client can switch. Okay? Good question. Next. Come on, I can't have done that good of a job.
The spread, what if the return is 3 for automatic out? Yeah.
Core. Core.
So, what if it's, so negative, you don't charge, we don't gain, it's 0?
It's zero, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And keep in mind, because of the zero floor inside of an IUL, your client can't go negative. They can't go negative because of the floor. So if the S&P return is, let's go back to 2008. If the S&P return is negative 37%, your client doesn't suffer that 37% loss inside of an IUL. It's a zero floor, so they receive no credit, but they don't suffer a loss. Now, if this conversation, once again, was about VUL, completely different. Yes, they suffer that total and complete 37% loss.
So, Brian, with the Protector 2, why would they be a higher multiplier if you're not concerned with the growth of your cash value?
So, understand what I said and what I didn't say, and that's an excellent question. So what I said was, with the Protector, the client's primary consideration is the highest amount of insurance for the lowest premium. What I didn't say is that the Protector doesn't build cash value. It does build cash value. But with the Protector, please understand, we did not build that product for systematic distributions. So if your client gets 25 years down the road and they've accumulated $500,000 and they want to start taking monthly or annual income, the accumulator is the product that is designed for that. The Protector is not designed for systematic income. Why? Because with the accumulator, the loan washes out after year 10. So beginning in year 1 with the accumulator, we charge 3.9%. We give an immediate credit of 3%. So the cost of the loan in the first 10 years is 90 basis points. But beginning in year 11, the cost of the loan in the accumulator is 3.9. The credit is 3.9. So your client pays 0 to take the money out. However, in the Protector, your client always, 100% of the time in all years, will pay a loan spread of at least 1.5%. Exactly. Exactly. So that's why I'm suggesting to you that while it builds cash value, it's not the product that you should use if your client wants systematic income. Now, can your client access the money in the Protector? They absolutely can. They can take it out in the form of a withdrawal or in the form of a loan. But just remember, your client is always going to pay that 1.5% loan spread in the protector. Okay? Good question, thank you for that. Other questions? I don't want to dig too far into the weeds. I can go deeper, but I want to give you enough to get you excited about the new product and to be able to explain it to your client. What are some of the takeaways for this evening? Number one, this is a completely transparent product. Completely transparent. We're showing you all of the fees. Number two, it's a competitive product. It doesn't matter if we're competing against FFIUL or if we're competing against the PacLife PDX product. We have options and alternatives for you and your clients in one product. So if your client is really geared toward the high cap options, we have that. In our original product, the caps were what they were. When we're competing against PDX, their illustrations look 100% better than ours. It doesn't matter that their persistency bonuses aren't guaranteed. If you're an agent that sells from an illustration, that illustration looks great. Now, our illustration looks great as well, using the high multiplier option. But remember, fully guaranteed. Fully guaranteed. That's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. Jane.
So, client has an existing policy with Transamerica today.
Yes.
This is their 9th year in the policy.
Yes.
And each of the policy, they have so far paid over 200,000 premium. Cash value accumulation so far is about 185, 188.
185,000?
Yes.
Okay.
So almost even.
Break even? Yes.
Break even to the premium paid
Yes.
total. However, 9th year into the review, life has changed, mortgage is almost paid, investment property almost paid,
Yes.
kids are gone to college, they thought they were gonna utilize some of the money to fund the kids, they got scholarship, thank God, so they have this, available funds that they could utilize for something else, which is now turning to be a retirement supplement for them. However, they recognize they don't need 3 million policy each anymore, they might need just 1.5.
Yes.
In existing policy, it's a rule, we always have maximum amount that we could actually lower each year. So even if we took out 20% today, that 3 million is only gonna go lower, what is 20% of 3 million? 246 is 600,000? So that's gonna be 2.4. 2.4. The
Yes.
cost of insurance on a 2.4, which is not needed, is not ideal to them at this point. And plus they wanna overfund the policy even more so now,
Yes.
because now they have the ability to.
Yes.
I don't want all of that to go into just premium expense charges.
Yes.
I wanna see that in the high multiplier, that would be a good fit for this, isn't it, brother?
So based on what you're telling me, yes, it would be a good fit. As you were talking, I'll tell you what I was thinking. Core. Now,
But if they're overfunding now and they wanna go, if they wanna do the 7 pay and back
Yes.
pay it, they wanna
yes,
put in 500,000,
Yes.
for example. So 250 in each of the policy.
yes.
Still 4, because of the 0 fee?
So, high multiplier works. I like your thinking on the high multiplier. Here's why my mind went to core. It was based on something you said. You don't want to see that money going to policy expense charges,
Charge.
right?
Mhm.
If I understood that
Yeah.
correctly, I think that core might be a better option. They can still overfund,
Right.
and look, again, these cap rates are very competitive. And
0.
they have no segment fees charge here.
How about the overfund, the premium expense charge fee? When we put in 250,000, for example,
Mhm. I'm not sure I understand the question. What is the fee? Is that what you're asking? 6%,
so 6%.
yes,
6% of the 250,000 lump sum.
correct.
The rollover, 1035, there's no fees on that, it's just gonna automatically roll up with the policy, correct?
So the 6% applies to the premium going into the policy. Whether it's 1035 or,
no money.
correct, correct. Yes. And so, because you gasped at that, that would be another reason for the
Yeah.
core.
Allow it to stabilize a little
Yes.
bit.
Now, the reality is, if they're true to their game plan, they're going to be overfunding anyway.
They've got 10 years to overfund it, that's the plan.
So, that 6% that you're gasping at, they will make that back.
Sorry, it's
It's
It's a bad
okay,
habit.
it's okay. So our fee up front is higher, but it goes down in the later years. So the reality is that higher fee can be a little bit prohibitive to individuals that have 1035 money coming in. However, we can show in the illustration, using a nominal interest rate, if they give that money enough time, which they should within the context of a life insurance policy, that 6% fee will be overcome. Yes, sir.
So, say we overfund it for the first 5 years, and do core. Year 6 comes in, now we want to do the high multiple.
Yes,
We can do that.
So, 6 years, for your 2.25, you'd be getting actually 80%, correct?
correct,
Because it's already added on top.
correct.
So if you were to wait the 5 years to turn on high multiplier, you would actually get more of a bang for your 2.25.
That's a strategy.
Because you get the bonus on the 6th year.
Yes.
You get both bonuses beginning in year 6. Remember, the 65%
yes.
bonus begins in year 1.
Right.
Yeah,
We have 15, 15
Yes.
plus.
Hey, that's my
Yeah.
bro.
That,
Okay,
I
okay.
look at the numbers.
yeah.
Okay, engineer. Engineering mind works.
That's a sweet.
Sold.
Yeah.
We just sold it.
So this is an example of the flexibility that you have here.
Right.
This is a perfect example of the flexibility.
Yeah, we can show it in the
That would
illustration.
show all in the illustration?
We'll
Absolutely.
just call Nationwide to do the
Yes,
illustration.
yes, yes. Final question, yes, sir, yes, sir.
I know we're still talking about strategies, but what about long-term care?
That's where I was going, so you read my mind. Excellent question. So the question from Ferd, long-term care. The long-term care product is available on both the Accumulator 2 and the Protector 2. So, we did change our long-term care rider. I don't know if you're aware of that, because I don't think I've been in the office since we changed it. We changed the rider in April of last year, but we changed it for the better,
Yeah.
not for the worse. Are you familiar with the changes? Okay. So for those of you that are not familiar with the changes, let me very quickly walk you through it. So, for the past 16 years, Nationwide has had an indemnity benefit, meaning that your client has never needed to submit a receipt. We pay your client after the 90 calendar day waiting period. That has not changed. It has not changed. We are still an indemnity benefit. However, we have changed to what the IRS refers to as cash indemnity. Cash indemnity. There's a very distinct difference between indemnity and cash indemnity. It is this. With the indemnity benefit, you were never able to pay a family member, a non-licensed caregiver, to provide that care.
Mhm.
That was illegal under the indemnity contract with the IRS.
Mhm.
So, any care that you received, whether a physical therapist, a respiratory therapist, a nurse, whatever, any care that you receive under an indemnity contract has to be provided by a licensed caregiver.
Mhm.
Okay. With cash indemnity, it is different. You can still have your care provided by a licensed caregiver under cash indemnity. However, if your client's doctor allows it, a non-licensed caregiver can provide the care and the benefit will still be paid.
Mhm.
The full amount?
The full amount. No restriction, nothing. So, if you have a sister-in-law, a brother-in-law, a mother-in-law, a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, who is willing and able to provide the care, and your client's doctor allows that, then we will still pay the full benefit out to your client. That is a provision under cash indemnity. Now, we have nothing to do with whether or not your client's doctor approves it. Maybe your client's doctor believes that skilled care, and when I say skilled care, I'm referring to licensed care, is what is absolutely necessary for your client to recover.
Mhm.
Well, that's between your client and your client's doctor. Nationwide has absolutely nothing to do with that. We have nothing at all to do with that. But in the event your client's doctor says, yeah, if you have a family member or a friend or a community member who is willing to provide the physical therapy that you need, I'm willing to sign off on that. And if your client's doctor signs off on it in the plan of care, we pay the benefit out, the full benefit. Now, if you have sold our long-term care product in the past, there is absolutely nothing that you or your client need to do about it. The Nationwide Board of Directors made the decision to grandfather all existing long-term care riders into cash indemnity. So if you sold a rider 4 years ago, as an example, when we were still paying out on an indemnity basis,
Wow.
and your client qualifies for the long-term care benefit next month, we will process that claim under cash indemnity. Okay? Yes, sir.
The other benefit that we also tell the clients for, nationwide,
Yes,
especially if they're in the Philippines,
Yes.
they can access that, right?
absolutely. Yes. So thank you for bringing that up, because the reality is we are the only long-term care provider which pays the full long-term care benefit outside of the United States. We're the only one. Now, we are not, I won't say any country, if I heard correctly. It isn't any country. The countries that we don't pay are countries that you would suspect that we wouldn't pay. So, yeah.
That is so politically correct.
Yeah, so think hardline, communist, dictatorial countries. Those countries we are not interested in putting dollars into. Yeah, and the reality is those countries we don't have a diplomatic relationship with, which is the other reason why we can't pay the benefit there. But I always joke and say if your client is retiring in North Korea, they have bigger problems than us not paying their long-term care benefit. But independent of those types of countries, the answer to your question is yes, we will pay the long-term care benefit in any country that doesn't meet that hardline communist dictatorial deal. Yes.
El Salvador and Colombia.
Both are fine. Both are fine. Yes, both of those countries are
Uncle
fine.
Pablo's.
Your example of the Philippines, fine. Again, I'm going to say 95 to 98% of the countries across the globe will participate. Just again, think of Think of those outlier countries, okay?
So in
Yes, sir.
addition to that question, we shared this with Brother. A couple of our clients are very technical about, well, what if I decide to retire, like out in the boondocks, like my province has no US certified
Yes.
doctor to certify my long-term care claim, et cetera. That's not Nationwide's policy, according to Brother, that's IRS guideline as well.
Yes.
It's a requirement, doesn't matter if it's a John Hancock policy or a Transamerica policy. But having said that, there are known hospitals in the Philippines or any other outside the United States, or worst case scenario would be US Embassy.
Right.
They always have medical doctors in US Embassy.
Yes. So, everything that Jane just said is absolutely correct. And I just want to underscore that the IRS qualifies the definition of long-term care, and under IRS code 7702B, that is the IRS code which governs long-term care policies. It states there that outside of the United States, the long-term care claim has to be certified by a US licensed doctor. That does not mean that your client has to come back to the United States in order to be certified. It simply means that they have to be certified by a US licensed doctor. Now, in most situations, it isn't a problem. But your client could be in a far-flung province or village where there literally are no US licensed doctors.
Right.
Fly the doctor, you're about to claim money.
You can do that, or as Jane indicated, every US embassy and every US consulate
Yeah.
has medical facilities.
Yes.
Now, you will have to make an appointment, or not you, but your client will have to make an appointment. They can't just hobble in and say, I want to see a doctor. They have to make an appointment, but there are US licensed doctors at the embassies and at the consulate offices. And their long-term care claim can be certified through that way.
Yes.
And the last point is that most companies do not have an international payment. We're not the only company that offers international payment, but we are the only company which offers the full benefit outside of the United States.
Yes.
Every other company that offers an international benefit limits that benefit somehow. They either limit the amount of time that the benefit is going to be paid outside of the United States, or they limit the amount of money that is paid outside of the United States. So you might qualify for $5,000 in the United States, but they will say, because you're outside of the United States, we will only pay $2,500. Or they may say, we will pay the full $5,000, but we'll only pay it for 14 months. So again, we're not the only provider which has an international benefit, but we are absolutely the only provider which pays the full benefit outside of the United States.
Yes.
No questions asked.
Yep.
Okay? So I'll take your final questions and then I'll be done. Yes, sir.
For those with the accumulator one or the protector one,
Yes.
is it beneficial for them to, they cannot move there now, right?
No, well, let me be very clear. They can, it's an internal transfer, it's an internal transfer, and you don't get paid on it,
Yeah.
unless the client brings us new money.
Upgrade.
So,
They're my relatives anyway.
okay, so in 99% of the cases that have been presented to us so far, our recommendation is that the client remain where they are. Accumulator 1 and Protector 1 are both very good contracts. We've upgraded some of the features and benefits of Accumulator 2, but keep in mind, these are fixed interest contracts. It's all about the cap rates, and it's all about what the index strategies earn. And both Accumulator 1 and Accumulator 2 have a very attractive 15% multiplier bonus, which begins in year 1.
Right.
there are a multitude of reasons for your client, family member or non-family member, to just stay put.
Brother, until when is accumulator 1 and 2 available?
For new offers?
Yeah, for new offers.
Excellent question. At the end of this month. At the end of this month, and then for those states in which Accumulator 2 has been available since the beginning, Accumulator 1 and Protector 1 will be turned off. Now, there are states, like my home state of California, where this product is not yet available.
Nevada, we are.
Absolutely. Nevada was available the day we rolled it out, which was December 3rd. Okay? So Nevada is a part of what's called an insurance state compact. And Nevada, along with approximately 40 different states, all approve products together. So if it's approved in Nevada, it's approved in 39 other states. So Nevada is a part of that insurance compact. California is not. New York is not. Florida is not. It's not approved yet.
Okay.
It's not approved yet. So for those of you here in Nevada, and you have team members in other states, it is approved in Texas, by the way, but not Florida.
Okay.
When you're talking to them about the accumulator or the protector, when you're talking to them about product, make sure you're talking about the same product. Because if you have team members in Florida, as an example, they don't have this product. They have the original accumulator and the original protector. If you have team members in California, like Fresno, they're not selling this product. So if you're doing webinar training, Zoom training, or over the phone training, you gotta make sure that you're talking about the same product.
What about Georgia?
Is approved in Georgia, yes, yes. So we anticipate approval in California soon. It's been filed. What is soon? We don't know exactly. We don't know, but as soon as it's available, we'll be rolling it out there. Okay, so I thank you for your time. You have the number to the sales desk. Please use it. Let them run your initial illustrations on the new product. Stay on the phone with them while they are running your illustrations for you,
Yeah.
so that you can ask questions and you can become familiar with it. Skylar and I are also available to do webinar training. We can do webinar training on illustrations, on long-term care, whatever you want. So I'm here in Vegas at least once a month, sometimes twice, but we can also do webinar training for your team. In other states,